Hey friends, we're glad you joined us for a fresh episode of the Beards and Bitcoins Crypto Podcast. We sure do appreciate your support, so please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on either the YouTube or the audio versions of this podcast. If you have any questions or for guest host inquiries, please email us at info@beardsandbitcoins.com. And now a word from the show sponsor, Monarch Token.
Monarch is building the future for those interested in one wallet that consolidates the best services and functionality into one simple and easy to use app. Monarch will empower users to control all aspects of their financial kingdom from the palm of their hand. You may have heard the phrase, not your keys, not your crypto. With Monarch, you own your keys and seed, meaning you own your crypto. With Monarch, you can store, receive, send, swap, buy, sell, and earn interest on your crypto, track your portfolio, the news, the market cap, and more today. We're constantly adding new services and updates too. Learn more today by visiting monarchtoken.io or download the wallet for free today from Apple or Google. Welcome, episode 39, Beards and Bitcoins. I'm your co-host, BitBoy. This is your other co-host, J Chains Chains. What is going on?
Oh man, living the life, my brother. Living the life. How about you? What's going on?
Not much. Had a busy week. It's our kids' last week of soccer camp before we finally get a break from having to go do stuff every single day. So, getting ready to chill out a little bit before we head to the Bit Bus next month. Probably, yes. I guess, about a month from now.
About a month from now. Looking forward to that. I know it's going to be fun to see some fellow Satoshi droppers, a bunch of people from the community, the crypto space, and taking a bus from LA to San Francisco, doing a bunch of fun stuff on the way up there, and all sorts of fun events planned, during the time that we're in San Francisco. Crypto Wendy O's throwing a meetup. Obviously, we'll be at the Bitcoin 2019 conference, so a lot of fun things happening. If you haven't got a ticket for that and you want to, check out cryptobitbus.com. There are packages available. You can do just a ride. You can get a ticket to the conference, and there are hotel packages, so check it out.
But the most important thing is that you see us. That's the most important thing. You need to come see me, see Chains, make it happen. And then shortly thereafter, we should be starting to record some live shows together.
Very excited. Up in Dallas.
Oh yeah, up in Dallas. Home of the Mavericks, home of the Cowboys, home of the Texas Rangers.
Oof, so many good things. So many good.
Yeah, I guess if you like those kind of things. I'm not a big fan of any of those things.
You think we'll definitely have to get you in a cowboy hat though, because I think the crowd spoke, and they do appreciate you in a Stetson.
Yeah, they do. I've been listening to country music ever since I left, so I've been trying to get, into the mode. Been trying to get into the mode. I told the wife we're going to have a farm, and she's very confused. She doesn't know what to do. She's always wanted like animals, like chickens and goats and whatnot, but yet she never thought it was possible because I'm such a yuppie, So going forward, I'm full cowboy. So this cowboy hat is going to be a great thing.
So the $1 million question is, are you going to keep your horses in the back?
Yeah, definitely going to keep the horses in the back. I tell you, that is a really crazy thing, the way that song has came about. It was just a guy that made this song. It basically became a meme on TikTok. And now the guy has he's on a recording label. They said, what a time to be alive if you're in the Cyrus family. Because you got Billy Ray Cyrus, on the remix of that, legitimized it as a country song. And then you got Miley Cyrus, who now is going to be on, I believe, episode 1 of the new Black Mirror season. It's only going to have 3 episodes. But so the Cyrus family is popping right now. So it's the best of both worlds.
From mullets to magic, baby.
That's it. Well, it's funny because if you really look at the trailer for that Black Mirror episode, which is one of my favorite shows, you guys got to check it out. Miley Cyrus basically is playing Hannah Montana in this Black Mirror. It's like, a double life she's living. So a lot of really funny comments on the YouTube trailer for the Netflix show Black Mirror. I suggest you guys go check that out. So not sponsored by Black Mirror, by the way.
Or Netflix.
But
we'd be open to it. We'd be open to it. Yeah,
sure. Give us a call. Call us. So this week's been, a lot of interesting stuff going on in crypto. The markets are back down a little bit. I think they took another little dip today. Haven't really checked it out, but we're going to talk about some crypto stuff today. We're also going to be talking about, a lot of stuff about technology and how some decisions that have been made regarding some cell phone stuff, might lead us actually into a new Cold War. So we're going to be, definitely talking about that. I think it kind of plays into crypto, tokenized economy, getting away from physical goods and, physical wars and moving on to different kinds of wars. So definitely going to be something interesting we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, look forward to that. I mean, yeah, it's crazy to see like what's coming up. I think, one of the first things we want to talk about, if I'm not mistaken, is AT&T. Obviously, if you've got a cell phone or if you know about cell phones, you know who AT&T is. And they just made an announcement that they are going to be accepting crypto as payments.
Yeah, so if you're watching on the channel, you'll be able to see this article. If not, I'm going to read a little bit from it so you guys can understand exactly what the story is. So cryptocurrency is taking another step towards the mainstream as mobile carrier AT&T announced it would accept payments in crypto today, according to a release from the company. Customers can pay their mobile bills via BitPay when they pay online or in-app. BitPay is one of the largest cryptocurrency payment processing firms processing Bitcoin transactions. AT&T hasn't gone all in on crypto yet. As of now, the option to pay through BitPay is only extended to bill transactions. So basically what they're saying there is you can't buy apps or anything like that with crypto yet, but you will be, or phones, but you will be able to pay your bill. So I think this is like kind of big news, for adoption, and, brings up to me the larger point of, the battle and debate between will Bitcoin be more like gold or will Bitcoin be more like currency? I think this is definitely a win for those people that believe it's going to be a lot more like currency. What do you think, James?
I think you bring up a good point. I mean, and a lot of the times in the conversations that you and I have, we've talked a lot about this. And I'm of the firm believer, or at least I have been, that, Bitcoin will turn into more of a store of value versus a currency, only because it's just kind of the way that it's going. You talk about transaction times and speeds and all that, we just don't know if it's there. And I'm not willing to sacrifice and shift over to the Bcash or the SVs or anything like that. I know that they're faster, but it's just such a turnoff how all of that was presented to the community. So, I certainly hope that, projects like that don't take over as the currency gateway. But you just never know. But I think that it's an exciting thing. It's definitely a great first step for a huge company like that. I mean, obviously, Whole Foods and was it Whole Foods and Nordstrom's, some of these other companies that everybody really knows, at least here in the States, them accepting crypto in some form it's a great thing for, mass adoption. Now, if you can start paying bills, I mean, that's another great step. So if it turns into that it's a currency trade and as opposed to a store of value, or they're both, either way, I think it's a win for the crypto community.
Yeah, and we also celebrated Bitcoin Pizza Day, which, if you guys don't know what Bitcoin Pizza Day is, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know, but it's basically where Laszlo Hanich, who is actually on 60 Minutes this week for the Bitcoin story that was done on CBS's 60 Minutes with Anderson Cooper, which was very interesting. But it's been 9 years. Basically, on a Bitcoin Talk forum, Laszlo said, "Hey, if somebody will buy me 2 pizzas, I will send you 10,000 Bitcoins, which are worth today about $80 million." Laszlo also says, by the way, that he spent over 100,000 Bitcoins on, regular everyday goods over a short period of time, which would be $800 million today, which is very interesting. But, so it was a first real world transaction for Bitcoin. And, it was kind of a precursor of, in the future, you would be able to spend this Bitcoin like currency. I certainly used it back in the day for, a software and some different kind of payments that I had for different stuff for a business I had. And so, back then it was like, look, it's probably going to become currency. However, over time, that has kind of changed. And we have these stories like AT&T accepting crypto, which is big news. But, if you think your Bitcoin is going to quadruple in price, do you really want to spend that $200 on your phone bill?
No,
Yeah.
but the mass adoption will never happen until people start spending it. I think that's the catch. That's the catch 22.
Yeah. But what is mass adoption though? What is mass adoption to you?
Mass adoption to me is when I can pay my mortgage when I can go to the store and I can put in my credit card and pay for my gasoline, or that I can go to the sandwich shop and I don't have to pay with cash or pay with fiat. I can pay. To me, that just when it becomes a regularly accepted form of payment, bartering, anything where you can replace your traditional fiat currencies, switch it over to crypto. I think that when we hit that, that's when you start to see more of a mainstream adoption.
Yeah, but here's the question. And this is something I brought up on a YouTube video recently. When we talk about mass adoption for currency, we're always talking about Bitcoin pretty much, because Bitcoin is way out in front. But if Bitcoin never becomes a currency, but yet something else does rise up as a currency and Bitcoin becomes more like gold and a complete store of value, then is that still adoption?
I mean,
and not only that.
Like, are you mean like if Ripple becomes or XRP becomes the payment? I know. Unfortunately, hypothetically, unfortunately, I feel like it's going to happen. I don't like it. Whatever. But I think so. I think that anything that is a form of a digital currency, any kind of crypto that gets accepted as your major payment system supplier, or however you want to say it, I mean, that would be a true mass adoption. When you have the option everywhere you go to either pay with, your currency, that whether it's fiat or crypto.
Fully tokenized economy. That's where we're going. But here's the thing. You have these Bitcoin maximalists, and I'll call them hardline maximalists. The hardline maximalists, like Tone Vays, are the ones who only believe that Bitcoin will exist and everything else will totally fail. There will be no altcoins that make it, only Bitcoin. And I think if you told those people, hey, we will have a world currency that everyone's able to use, a world digital currency, but it won't be Bitcoin, I think they would all say, well, that means Bitcoin is a failure, And I don't believe that. I think that Satoshi's vision for where he wanted to take a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, even if Bitcoin is not the one that becomes used across the world, if it spurs off another cryptocurrency, whether it be Bitcoin Cash or XRP or whatever it might be, then to me, Bitcoin still is the winner. If it wasn't for Bitcoin, if it wasn't for that Bitcoin white paper, then there's 0% chance that any of these other, cryptos would have been birthed. And even if Bitcoin becomes gold and becomes a store of value and no one wants to spend it, but we do have a digital currency that makes it and becomes something that we're able to spend, or heck, maybe tons of them. Like I said, a fully tokenized economy where, you got 20 different kinds of cryptos that you can spend at a store or something like that. Then to me, that still makes Bitcoin win.
Because they're all tied to it somehow. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like, to me, it's like a family, right? You've got your parents and then you've got your siblings. You're all part of the same family. If one goes on to do something successful, usually the whole family goes on to be successful. So, let's do it.
Yeah.
I do not want it to be XRP though.
No, of course not. God, I hate that you even said that. It was in my brain to use that. Why did you do that?
I said it and then I regretted it immediately. Sorry.
Set it, regret it. That's a new thing. Sorry. Set it, forget it. Set it, regret it. That's your.
Set it, regret it. So we apologize to the XRP army and fam.
If you're listening, we're sorry. Yeah. Who knows though? Maybe who knows? Who knows? We gave you an opening. We gave you guys an opening. So, but yeah. So this is a debate that continues to rage on. I've been talking about it a lot on my channel. We've talked about it a lot on the podcast before with the gold and the space mining. We love talking about space
mining. If you had the opportunity, if Elon Musk said, "Hey, BitBoy, I'm actually sending a group up there to go mine for some space gold. I would love to have you out there. You could live stream. We'll give you a little bit of space gold. Would you go?"
No, no, I'm not leaving the planet. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, not even for the channel. Like, I love you guys a lot, but I do love my family, and I don't want to get blown up in a space explosion. Interestingly enough, you're talking about Elon Musk. They had the SpaceX launch, I guess about a month ago or 6 weeks ago, whatever that was. And I actually happened to be in Cocoa Beach, Florida, when that took off, and didn't even know it. I didn't even know it was going off. and we're at the pool at the hotel, and I go to get some wings. So I go to the little poolside restaurant that's by the beach, and I walk to the beach, and everybody is out standing on the beach staring up at the sky. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? They're like, SpaceX is launching. And I'm like, whoa. So I sat there and I watched it. And then I tried to go get the wife and kids that were at the pool before it came back down so they could see it enter. But, we couldn't really see it enter again. We heard it, though. It was like a big sonic boom and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it was very interesting to be there. And like, that's just how clueless I am, I guess, sometimes about stuff. Like, I didn't even know what was going on. Just happened to plan a vacation down there exactly when it was launching. And randomly just happened to walk to the beach the exact moment it was launching. It was faked,
Talk about good timing, man. That's great.
Yeah. So maybe Elon Musk will have the good timing to watch this podcast. Like maybe somebody will just share a clip of it to him and he'll watch it and he'll want to come on the show.
Yeah, that'd be great. You know who has bad timing?
Who?
Trump and his China policies. I think that brings us to our next topic.
Well, yeah, definitely. But before we move on to this next topic, let's go ahead and we got another word from our sponsor, Monarch Token. So you guys check out this commercial.
Not your keys, not your crypto. I'm sure you've heard by now that with the Monarch wallet, you own the keys to your financial castle. We're bringing the best of all crypto services in one place, the Monarch wallet. Send, store, and receive thousands of cryptocurrencies. Also, qualified people can buy and sell and earn up to 7.1% interest on their crypto. The decentralized Monarch wallet has a built-in decentralized exchange, so you can quickly swap tokens right from your wallet. If that wasn't enough, it has a portfolio tracker, among many other features. Check out the website for more info today, monarchtoken.io.
Yeah, so that's a word from monarchtoken.io. A lot of you guys know Beatles is the president there. I want to go over a quick update that Monarch has going on before we move on to our next topic. They've actually hired a new attorney, Bob Cornish. He's an industry expert in the digital asset space and member of the Wyoming Blockchain Coalition. He's now been retained by Monarch Blockchain Corporation as its counsel for legal and corporate matters. And I think it's good whenever, anyone brings an attorney into their team that's already bullish on crypto, which Mr. Cornish is bullish on crypto for sure. He's part of the Wyoming Blockchain Association, which is, if you guys don't know, if you want to start an LLC in the United States that's crypto or blockchain related, there's really only two states you want to do it in, either Wyoming or Delaware. Those are the two friendliest states to crypto. So, definitely cool. If you guys want to read this article, you can find more about it at monarchtoken.io. But definitely cool for them to be bringing on a new attorney for their project. So, okay, let's go ahead and jump over to our next topic, which is going to be, I hope I can pull it up here. We're going to talk about some China stuff, which is very, very interesting. As Jay Chains alluded to, there's a war that is now rising up between the United States and China. And, you said before we went to our Monarch break there that, it seems like Trump has bad timing on this. And I don't really know if that's true. I don't really know if, here's the thing. A lot of people are going to get hurt in this Chinese war that we're going into now, Chinese trade war. And I understand that's why you made that statement. People will get hurt. People will lose money. There will be, companies that, definitely lose a lot of money over this. However, you have to understand that this is about something much, much, much bigger. You have to look at the big picture in this and why this is so important to the future of not just the United States, but of the world, of mankind, of technology. It's very interesting. So, we have this story here. I pulled it up for those watching on the channel. Own a Huawei phone. Here's how the ban will affect you. So basically what has happened is Google has banned Huawei, which is a huge, the number 2 phone producer in the world. It's basically, similar to the Samsung or Apple of China. And Google has banned them from being able to license their product on their phone. And this is a direct result of this giant trade war that's going on between us and China. So here's a little bit about what that is. So things continue to go from bad to worse for Huawei. In the span of just 2 weeks, the number 2 worldwide phone maker has lost its privilege to license Google Android services and purchase chips from industry suppliers Qualcomm and ARM. And the U.S. Department of Commerce placed Huawei on an entity list that forbids U.S. companies from sharing software or hardware with the Chinese firm. A surely distressing scenario for Huawei, which will now have to turn to domestic partners to fill these fresh gaps in production, and likely fork the open source component of Android to craft a new operating system with Google's instrumental frameworks. But let's not overlook the other victims in the fallout, those who use these Huawei products themselves.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. What do you take away from that? The first thought.
My first thought is, I mean, we're definitely flexing some muscle, and apparently, you've seen that Google has picked a side on that. You had said something before we went to air, which really kind of makes you think about this. Is China can make phones without us. We can't make phones without China.
Yeah. So the way that this kind of works is that China relies on us for parts. They rely on us for some very, specified parts that need to go into these phones, kind of pre-made, chips or whatever it may be. Just like they were talking about in the article, Qualcomm and ARM are not going to be able to send them things. And we rely on China for production, right? So Apple gets all of its phones made in China for pennies, pennies on the dollar at least. I mean, I'm sure it costs more than pennies. And, you start getting into kind of slave labor arguments and these people are, sweatshops and things like that in China. However, if those people in China were not, making at least a little bit of money, they would starve and die. So like, it's kind of one of these things that's like a symbiotic relationship between all parties involved. However, we cannot get these phones made in the United States because of our minimum wage requirements. The cost on an iPhone would at least quadruple overnight if we stopped production in China and had to produce in the United States only. So this is actually like a much, much bigger, thing than just, hey, Google is banning Huawei from using Gmail on their app or on their phone. And, it brings up a lot of different scenarios. And if the result of this is, we have to stop using Chinese production for our phones, it's going to be a bad scenario. And in China, this is where things get very, very dicey. In China, enterprise and the government are hand in hand. They work together. They have to. It's communist. In the United States, that's not true. However, what we're seeing is some of our political and government policies now trickling down to the way that we do business with other countries. And, I don't really know where this is going, but there's a lot of people in China that are not happy about this, and this could definitely have reverberating effects.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I mean, this could be one of those things that there's effects for a decade plus. It's scary times. I mean, some of the things that, just the way technology is even shaping out. I mean, first of all, everybody knows that we have fallen behind. I think, one other thing we've talked about, when you talk about superpowers, especially, within the world, the United States was a superpower forever. I feel like we've kind of fallen from our pedestal, not only in regards to production, education, technology, absolutely. I think everybody knows that.
But not in the number one thing that matters. The number one thing that matters?
Communication?
Money.
Oh.
We still have by far the largest economy in the world. Like, it's not even close. We dwarf everything else, including China. We dwarf it in our economy size. Let's see if I can pull up a comparison on that so people don't think I'm crazy when I say that. Let's see here. Biggest economies in the world. Oops. Let's see here. Top 10. So we'll pull up this chart here, this very updated chart here. You can see how much bigger we are than China right here in this image. So GDP growth, we're number one by a long shot.
Yeah, at least 10% or almost 10%.
Almost 30%, really. 25 to 30%. 14 to 21 trillion dollars, it looks like, is represented there. we're basically we're still 33% bigger than China. So, a lot of people would point and say, well, we owe a lot of debt to China, and that's okay. Like that is true. We definitely do, owe a lot of our debt to China, but we also owe a lot of debt, other places in the world as well. And, we are seeing China rise though. These numbers would have been more drastically tilted in our favor, say 5 years ago. And since the Soviet Union fell, so if you go back to when the United States really became a superpower, it would have been, in my opinion, other people may not agree with this statement, but I would say definitely in between World War I and World War II, we became a superpower. Really first 200 years of our country, we were really finding our footing and things like that. We showed during World War II that we were, not somebody that could be messed with, and that we came in and basically, helped wipe the Nazis out, and things like that. We became what people look to. So as the 60s, 70s came through, the Soviet Union really rose as well to become a superpower with us. Then, of course, we had the end of the Cold War. We had the Cold War that was very, very, very drastic, and it was a nuclear arms race. Mm-hmm. And so, for a long time, the USSR was there with us. Then when it fell at the end of the Cold War, there was nobody to take its place. We've been sole superpower for a long time. Over the last 5 years, maybe a little bit longer, that has really changed, and China is now definitely seen as a superpower with us. And I think a lot of people have this opinion that you have, because we see that, we've been caught up in technology. We've been caught up in education. We've been caught up in, living happy. I don't know what you call it. Living happiness. What general happiness of countries.
Yeah. I like living happiness. Living happiness. We'll go with it.
Living happiness. There's an actual term for it. I can't remember what it's called. But still, when it comes down to brass tacks and when it comes down to money and economy, we are still far and away number one. So, that's definitely important to remember when we start looking at these countries being able to catch us in technology. But, where things get a little scary is when we look at the last Cold War between us and the USSR. Like I said, it was a nuclear arms race. The new Cold War is between us and China, and it's a technology race.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because,
and that's almost scarier, because you could with technology, if you wipe out someone's technology, you take away infrastructure, you take away banking systems, you take away a lot. It's different than dropping a bomb or shooting a gun. They're both deadly, but technology that's where people really could get hurt.
And so if nuclear weapons were the driving force for the last Cold War, and it was all about, having the one weapon that could take out the most people at one time, where does that lead us? What is the new battlefront when it comes to technology?
Oh man, we got to be talking about whether it's AI or robotics or
both.
Yeah, or both.
Yeah, definitely. So I agree with that 100%. I feel like that definitely the future battles are not going to be fought with soldiers. We're already seeing it. We're already seeing it with drones today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see, then they're scary, right? You see, well, you got the drones and the robots, but what was it? I think before the Pyeongchang Olympics in Korea, right?
Yeah.
They did. I think that's maybe a clip we want to show.
Yeah, let's go ahead and show that real quick.
Yeah, because they did the intro to the Olympics with a drone show. That that impressive to say the least. But if they can coordinate that for a show, just imagine what they can do. Weaponized drones.
So let's go. We're going to check out this clip here and show you guys kind of what we're talking about. If you guys are just listening, you guys can go check this out. Just Google high-tech drones steal the show at Winter Olympics, and you can find the video.
Hey, Paul, I was actually in that stadium last night watching it, and what we saw, those swarms of drones almost seemed too incredible to be real, but they were real, and some of those figures that you saw were over 300 feet high. Now, incredibly, these drones, and I got a loaner here from Intel, weigh less than a pound, but put 1,000 of them or more in the air at the same time, and they create something that's now being called digital fireworks.
The drone show broadcast during the opening ceremony didn't just dazzle, it smashed a world record. 1,218 drones set aloft by Intel, creating the largest ever swarm of synchronized drones. The largest number of drones previous to that, just over 500. The drones creating animated three-dimensional figures. That snowboarder coasting through the sky over imaginary bumps. A dove fluttering in the stars. And of course, the Olympic rings.
So what's that in your hand?
So we're talking about very scary stuff. I mean, and here's the thing about things that are really scary and that can destroy the world. They come across as something very innocent, something that's, something that's good, right?
Well, good. I mean, you got a 9-year-old nephew who he's got his own little drone, right? I mean, it's not to the caliber of that from the show, but it's innocent. It's a toy. Well, at least that's, it was intended in the beginning for people to have, instead of a remote controlled car, you got a remote controlled helicopter. Now, I mean, it's like a couple steps forward. Scary stuff.
I mean, you could say the same thing about bringing an Alexa in your home. Like, it seems like something that would be good, that would help you. Or using Facebook, it's a way to connect with friends, but yet they're stealing all your data. Like, a lot of these things that we're bringing into our homes and into our lives, we got to be really careful with. But, there's kind of another side of that, which is, if we didn't bring it in our home, can we really stop it? Can we really stop the march? It would take a whole movement of people, saying that they're not going to use certain technologies because of, what it might lead to.
That's a pretty good point. I mean, I love the inventions, the Google Home, the Alexa, or the Apple Home, or whatever it's called. I mean, they're cool. They're super great to have, but when you talk about privacy, I mean, you've lost your privacy, whether you think of it or not. I mean, I think, and this is maybe to the good side of that, I think that they've actually been able to solve a couple murders with an Alexa device, because it is always recording, so they could catch those last few minutes and say, that's actually this guy's voice. He's the one that pulled the trigger.
Yeah. But so solving a murder today, convicting you for hate speech tomorrow.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He uses the N-word at his house. Get him out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, definitely not advocating, anyone saying the N-word or anything like that, but it doesn't have to be that. You could, you could call somebody, like, we'll take the word retarded, for instance. Like, that word is not politically correct anymore. Like, you can't say that in public, right? But a lot of people grew up, it was totally okay to say, like, that was actually the word you literally used. You would say that this person is, mentally retarded. Now, today, you have to say mentally handicapped, right? But there's a whole generation of people that's the word that they use, and they don't see anything wrong with it, because it's literally was totally okay when they were growing up. And, in the future, that word might be on the hate speech list. If you say it, period, in your house, Alexa hears you, you could be convicted. I know it seems so drastic right now to say that could happen. But yet,
it's true though. I mean, it's true. I mean, you've seen there's been words all throughout the time, where their meaning changes, and it becomes not the correct thing to say, or whatever. I mean, what is it? The word gay used to mean happy, right? Yeah. Now we know what it means.
Yeah. Now it doesn't. I mean, some people are very, very happy, but maybe a lot of them I'm not sure. But definitely, words change over time, 100%. So you got to be careful, because, like, what if, imagine a scenario where you say something that seems totally okay at the time, Alexa records it, and then, 2 months later, the meaning of that word has changed completely, and now you can't say that word anymore, and Alexa has a recording of you saying it 2 years ago, right? Like, it's a very, 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 very slippery slope, when we let technology into our homes. Because I'm telling you, like, the book 1984 by George Orwell, obviously we have passed the year 1984, but it is so applicable in so many different ways to the big brother society where we live now. And it's extremely scary. And we look at these drones being able to make these designs at the Olympics, it won't be long before those designs become, designs of, drones with guns on them flying around trying to kill people.
That, instead of a happy swarm of drones with lights, creating a snowboarder, like you said, this is now your infantry. This is the army that's going to fly over, the border of a country and start attacking. I mean,
yeah, because I mean, if you look at, like, okay, so here in the United States, we feel totally safe from every possible external force, right? If you look at what happened in 9/11, the way that Al-Qaeda was able to, unless you're a truther, we're going to say truthers aside. I'm not a truther myself. So we're going to say Al-Qaeda was the culprit behind 9/11. The way they were able to do it is they were able to kind of, just use a small amount of people that were able to infiltrate, different planes in the United States or jets and use them against us. And, once that happened, we changed their security. Obviously we haven't had anything close to that scale since then. It's funny, a lot of these technologies we're talking about now in our homes are technologies that, the U.S. has used for a long time to kind of track terrorists and things like that. So, definitely if you look at what happened in Pearl Harbor, where Japan, snuck up on Hawaii, like that could never happen again.
Right.
Like that wouldn't happen. We're not going to all of a sudden have an army that's going to invade the United States. However, if all a country had to do was plant, some drones, build them by hand or whatever it is in different parts of the United States, and then have those drones start, getting up in the air and shooting people, in mass, maybe at 50 cities at one time, like that is a scary possibility.
Bro, like I just thought about that picture in my mind, and that is awful.
Yeah. Like that's a real way that could happen. Like we're not as safe as we used to be because of a lot of this technology. And it's really, leveling off the playing field around the world. And then, unfortunately, the United States ourselves are playing a huge role in this, in these crazy, technological advances. If we look at the MIT robot, the Massachusetts, God, I don't know what the I is. Massachusetts something technology.
Institute of Technology.
Institute of Technology. There you go. Creating these Boston Dynamics robots that open doors. Like that looks like something from Jurassic Park. Does it not? Where the raptors freaking opening the door.
Right? Crazy. I mean, you've seen these videos. They've got ones that can jump like onto the roof of a house, or yes. I mean, it is just nutty to see this stuff. And artificial intelligence. I mean, we've all seen that AI it's a huge thing that's going to come and really take technology to the forefront in the next bunch of years. But it does come with some risks as well. I mean, AI is its own learning. I mean, you can program the parameters, but I mean, we've seen in some other things that these things are pretty much learning to do their own thing, whether they're finding shortcuts or whether they are creating their own language to speak to them.
A couple stories, what Jay Chain's talking about. Here we have this one. Facebook's artificial intelligent robot shut down after they start talking to each other in their own language. So basically what they had learned to do was they had learned to make shortcuts in speaking by using a language that only the AI could understand. And when you look at the language that they're using, it's very, very, very creepy. So here, this is the conversation that was going on between the two AI robots that got it shut down. It says, I everything else. Balls have zero. So that's one character. The second one says, balls have zero to me. The other one says, I everything else. Like it, when you listen to those words, like they're words that we understand, but the context that they put them in the conversation, it doesn't make any sense. However, they were developing their own rules for the speech that they were understanding themselves. But yet when we read that, we can't understand it. And the fact that we've got robots communicating to each other or AI communicating to each other that we can't understand, like that is a very scary proposition out of definitely a science fiction movie.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that they're negotiating with each other. And I think that, further down in the article, it goes on to say, all of this, like, asserting the dominance of the I's and the me's, like that's like, I think part of this whole creating that language, because it had said something down there, using I think it was just right there, using the word I several times was it's just a way part of their negotiation, which is just strange.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here it is. It says, agents will drift off understandable language and invent code words for themselves. Like if I say the 5 times, you interpret that to mean I want 5 copies of this item. This isn't so different than the way communities of humans create shorthand. Wow.
That's just nuts. It's nuts. So now, like, all right, so we build these AI robots to create certain or to perform certain functions and tasks, but then secretly, they're creating their own language. How long until they have their own society? I mean, this is weird. This is like lizard people kind of
It's
stuff.
not. It's not though. It's lizard people is weird because it's something that's made up, basically based off of a book. And some people believe in it, and that's fine if you believe in lizard people. You don't know what we're talking about. It's basically that there's like some other form of species that's human that controls everything. In reality, I don't think it's true, but that's like a conspiracy theory, right? We're talking about something in the future that definitely could be possible.
That's true. Because I mean, we're seeing it. They're creating their own languages. They're learning how to talk to each other, and I mean, they could turn on us at the drop of a dime.
Yeah. So this is another story that the Jay Chains was referring to, which is this clever AI hid data from its creators to cheat at its appointed tasks. So basically, what you had is this AI robot that was supposed to be creating Google Maps. So it was supposed to be taking like kind of grainy images and making them, look better for the Google Maps, like the Google Earth that you can look at and stuff like that. And basically this AI had developed a way to do its task. It had been plugged in with a task and set with certain parameters. It figured out a way to do it faster. And basically what it was doing was hiding data in plain sight so the people monitoring it couldn't see it in order for it to do its job faster. So let's see if I can find exactly where it was that it said. Okay, so it says, it didn't learn how to make one from the other. It learned how to subtly encode the features of one into the noise patterns of the other, talking about maps. The details of the aerial map are secretly written into the actual visual data of the street map. Thousands of tiny changes in color that the human eye wouldn't notice, but the computer can easily detect. So, and then here's some images from it. If you look at the difference, it's only very tiny, subtle pixel differences between these maps, but the AI had figured out a way to just make one pigment change across the board to different areas and be able to make its job done a lot faster. And I mean, it's really scary stuff, guys. And I really wish the world would kind of open their eyes to where we're going with technology. And like, we're heading towards Terminator 2. Like, there's no question about it.
That's just, I'll be back, baby.
I mean, maybe it's was creepy. A documentary and we didn't know it at the time.
Oh, you often think about that. It's like, is time travel possible? Have people, kind of gone back there? I was just on, and this is like a kind of a far-fetched thing, but like some guy just won the lottery, or some guy who's won the lottery like 2 or 3 times. His wife just won it for like the second time or something like that. I mean, you don't have luck like that. No one in the world has luck like that. Are these the kind of people that figured out time travel and then came back and now they're just scooping it up, winning the lottery multiple times?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's time travel or travel between the multiverse, which is another thing I'd like to get into another day. The multiverse. This is something I've been reading a lot about. It's very, very, very interesting to me. But you look at certain things like that, and that we're marching towards Terminator 2 and Skynet and things like that. And there's this argument that we're really living in a simulation, and that's why like all of these things are predictable. Like there's all these predictable patterns, and I do believe though that science fiction movies. The crazy thing about science fiction movies is that they take things that are not possible now, but that we could project in the future that would be possible. And we always will get to that point. Technology will always move to the point where we can do what we thought in the past was undoable and unachievable. But the scary thing to me is that we see in all these movies and science fiction novels and things, the negative results of these technologies, and yet we continue to march towards them. It's like we continue to march towards our own demise as a society and as a civilization. And some people would argue that the AI and robots are the next evolution of humans. They take what humans could do and put them into bodies that are indestructible,
Ooh, that's crazy. So if you could create the flux capacitor, or if the flux capacitor gets created and you have the opportunity to have your time travel machine, what car would you use? Because I wouldn't use a DeLorean. I think, me personally, I think I'd like totally pimp out an El Camino and use that. I've been wanting an El Camino for a while.
Chrysler LeBaron.
Oh, the LeBaron. Would you do convertible? You got to do that.
No, definitely. You have to do convertible.
I mean, that was such a quintessential car, like growing up, like, and then that turned into the Sebring, didn't it?
Yeah. Sebring's all right, dude. You gotta have that little. Is that a LeBaron? I gotta get that LeBaron right there.
Oh, that's
that or Miata.
That was you told me that story about your buddy, right?
Yeah. I had a buddy, and anyways, like. This was like 15 years ago. LeBaron was already way old, and we were at a place and saw LeBaron pull up, and he was like, "Is that a LeBaron?" Like, it was the coolest car he'd ever seen in his life. So funny, man.
They were hot, man. Those cars were hot back in the day. Everybody had to have one. I mean, that was part of the come up.
Yeah, you got to get that LeBaron.
I didn't have one though.
Yeah, so we're gonna race back into the past, back to the future, past, something. Anyways. We're going to get in that LeBaron. We're going to cruise back there. We're going to go ahead and go to the exact place where Bitcoin was created. I think Jay Chains is actually going to go back and edit that white paper. Is that correct?
No, I was the proofreader. So it's so funny. Do you know? There was actually, when they were talking about this whole thing with Craig and Calvin and all this stuff that's happening, there was an article that was put out. They said that it was two people. It was one person who wrote it. And literally, and I'm not even joking you about this, they said that there was another person who did the editing, and by editing, they meant really just proofreading. I started laughing so hard when I was reading this. My wife was like, "What are you laughing at?" I was just like, "It's an inside joke." I mean,
Are you from the future?
I'm a lizard guy.
Oh my gosh, you are a lizard person.
I'm a lizard guy from the future, so better watch out.
Well, cool. I guess that will probably wrap it up for us today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It wasn't really too focused on crypto that much today. Just an interesting conversation about current events that are going on in the technology space that are definitely, could lead us down a very, very scary road.
Yeah. I think some of the takeaways from our show today are be very mindful. Kind of keep your eye on technology. See where it's going. I mean, I think that if you've got children, put them in an engineering school. I mean, the United States here. I mean, if you're listening from another country, which we do, I've checked some statistics. We've got listeners in over 50 countries.
About 50%.
Yeah, but if you're here in the States, let's start getting our kids into engineering, into math and science, because we've got some catching up to do, and we don't want to fall too far behind.
Definitely. Well, that will wrap it up for today, episode 39 of Beards and Bitcoins. We will see you guys next week. Thank you for listening to Beards and Bitcoins. Big shout out to our show sponsor, Monarch. You can find them at monarchtoken.io and on Twitter at monarchtoken. You can find Beards and Bitcoins on Twitter at Beards Bitcoins is the handle. We would love to talk with you on Twitter or any of our other platforms. Thank you guys so much for listening and all the support.